Hello there, Ya Palingana. My name is Mike Guerzoni.
Ya Palingana, my name is Maggie Walter.
And we are Palawa academics based at the University of Tasmania, and we are the authors of the chapter titled Decolonizing Criminological Research Methodologies, Cognition, Commitments and Conduct. And we were invited to write this chapter by the editors of this book in light of our experience in contributing to decolonisation and indigenisation, but also with Maggie's extensive work on methodologies and Indigenous research. So our chapter is being written in acknowledging the fact that criminology as a discipline is going through a decolonising process. And this is in noting that our discipline is very much Eurocentric due to its origins, but also this continues into practice. Though there is an interest in decolonising at present, there's concern that if it is only done in practice, rather than ideologically and with change to how the individual researcher thinks, this can end up being a tick-the-box exercise where there's no meaningful change. So within this chapter, we outline that there should be three main changes. Firstly, to cognition, that is the way that the individual researcher thinks. Secondly, the commitments that they hold. And then finally, actual practice, so change in their behaviour. And this is because in the social sciences, as Maggie has written a lot about, the position that the researcher has, the researcher's standpoint, very much shapes not only how they perceive the world around them, but also how they go about the research, how they analyse the data, and how they write up the data. And so there's need for evaluation. How is the researcher seeing Indigenous research? Secondly, there's need for a change in commitments. And we suggest looking at the IATSIS Code of Ethics. And then finally, there needs to be a change in behaviour. These things need to be practiced and worked out.
Thanks, Mike. And look, underpinning all of that is the principles around Indigenous data sovereignty. And Indigenous data sovereignty at its core is about the rights of Indigenous peoples, here in Australia, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, but other peoples in other areas, to the ownership and control of the data that relate to them. So if you're doing research and it relates to Indigenous peoples, even if you have a large data set which just has an Indigenous identifier, you need to observe Indigenous data protocols. In Australia, we have a set of 5 Indigenous data protocols, the Mayam Ngari Wingara protocols or principles that were drawn up in 2018, and we outline those in our chapter. And I'm not going to read them out, but they really are all related to accountability of researchers, the right of Indigenous peoples to whom the data relates, to control the ownership of the data, how it's used, whether it's reused, and that's a big one, especially with data sets. You cannot just reuse data, and to really make the researcher responsible. We also outline in the chapter the CARE principles, which are a global group of principles that have been developed to help researchers do the right thing with data. So these are, just in short, they're about collective benefit, they're about authority to control, they're about responsibility of researchers and accountability, and also ethics. So read our chapter, think about your own research, and make the change to decolonise, or even better, Indigenise.
Walker.